Okay, this is an important concept. I'm going to type it out over here on the side. Um, we know that if a squared plus b squared equals c squared, we're dealing with a right angle. Um, but there's two other things when they're not equal. I'm going to write them out on the side, and then we're going to talk about it. All right, here's the rules over here. If you get a squared plus b squared and it's greater, that essentially means this. I'm going to see if I can draw this out using some line tools and just to kind of illustrate this. Okay, you've got this triangle here. Yeah, and if we were to somehow, so right now, let's say right now, what we're dealing with is a right angle. Okay, and we've got a squared plus b squared equal to c squared. Now, this leg here and this leg here, let's say, don't change their length at all. Okay? So a squared plus b squared is still going to equal the same amount, right? But if I then take this thing and I say, okay, I'm going to actually increase that angle, then what happens to the hypotenuse? The hypotenuse is now longer than it was before, and essentially what will happen is you'll get a bigger number than when you square it. Okay, so now we've increased the angle. We haven't changed what a squared plus b squared is, but now what we have done is increased the length of c, and therefore c squared will become bigger than what a squared plus b squared was, right? Before I moved it, they were equal. Once I extended essentially the length of the hypotenuse, we ended up with a bigger angle, right? And vice versa. So what happens if I went the other way? Well, let's set it back up again, how it was. Yep. And so let's say it's a right angle. Now, if I was to, let's say, shorten the hypotenuse, and I needed to shorten this side accordingly, right? Didn't really shorten that side. I decreased the angle, right? I'm not really shortening the side, I'm just decreasing the angle. If that's the case, then we still get a squared plus b squared equaling the same amount. But now, because the hypotenuse is shortened, we're now getting a number that is less than what a squared plus b squared is. Before I moved it, they were equal. Now, once I moved it to decrease that angle to an acute angle, that c length is shorter, and therefore c squared is going to end up being shorter than that. That's the concept behind it. That's the idea. Okay. Um, okay. So how do we do it? We test it and we see what kind of result we get. So we do 4 squared plus 5 squared. And we're going to compare that result to 6 squared. Okay. 4 squared is 16. 5 squared is 25. 6 squared is 36. And when we add these together, we get 41 compared to 36. And what we have is that we've got the a squared plus b squared amount is greater than what c squared is. That's this situation right here. And that means it's an acute angle. So we will classify this as acute. Okay, I did my little cutting tool there for that. Oops. So we'll call that acute. Now, let's do the next one. We're going to take 11 squared plus 12 squared and see what happens when we get 15 squared. 11 squared is 121. 12 squared is 144. 15 squared is 225. When we add these together, we get 265 compared to 225. And what do we got there? We've got same situation. We've got the a squared plus b squared being greater than the c squared. And again, that's this situation. A squared plus b squared is greater than c squared, and so that is an acute angle. So I'm going to once again take my little cutting tool here, trim out the word acute. and put it there. That's the answer for this one. We'll put it over here. Okay, we'll put that one there. All right, and we're going to do it again for this one on the bottom. And when we do this one, we've got 30 squared plus 40 squared. We're going to compare that to 50 squared. 900 plus 1600 compared to 2500. And when we add 9 and 16, we get 25. Add those two zeros on. We get 2500 and 2500. And we see that, oh, those are equal. And if they're equal, what we're dealing with is a right triangle. So let me get my little cutting tool and trim out the word right. Put it right there. That's a right angle. So those are our answers to those questions. How do you know which ones to put where? Well, you're always going to take the two shorter ones are going to be the legs because the hypotenuse is